So can you just state your name and your major and your year?
My name is Ingrid Lickis. I am majoring in biological pre-med illustration, and I am a sophomore at ISU.
When were you first diagnosed with POTS?
I was first diagnosed with POTS. It was, I think, just coming into my junior year of high school. It was after my sophomore summer. I had been having symptoms as early as fourth grade, but it was finally to the point that I was losing consciousness several times a day, and I didn't think that was a huge deal. And it took my parents a long time to figure out that anything was happening. But one time when one of my friends was over, I had an IBS episode and passed out. My parents saw it and were terrified. And so they called 911. I went to the emergency room. Again, they found that nothing was wrong with me, but that was the first time I'd ever heard what POTS was. After that, I got checked out. They said, you very much so have POTS, and my quality of life improved a lot. So.
What are some of the general symptoms that go along with having POTS?
POTS, because it's a dysautonomic, it's a autonomic nervous system dysfunction, a lot of different symptoms can go through with it, but for me, the biggest symptoms that I struggle with are brain fog, kind of just disassociation with my body. IBS episodes are probably the scariest, and then just the normal casual syncope or passing out.
What are IBS episodes?
IBS is called irritable bowel syndrome.
Okay.
And what this is it's like a really awful and embarrassing and painful like gastrointestinal attack. And what this is it's not anything to do with your digestive system, but your body doesn't get enough blood to it, so the entire thing like shuts down for a little bit, and it really sucks. And that can happen at any time for no reason whatsoever.
Wow.
So that was really kind of debilitating for a long time.
You said that you had some of the symptoms as early as fourth grade. What were some of the struggles that you had early on?
Well, when I was in fourth grade, I started having IBS attacks for no reason. I went to the doctor, got checked out several times, and they were like, I think she's just making these up. So after that, as long as I had the symptoms of the IBS attacks, I kind of just shut myself away, afraid that it would happen, and didn't want to leave my house for a really long time. And as things like the feeling really floaty, all of the starting to lose vision started happening, I just kept thinking that was normal because nobody had told me otherwise.
And it's probably more difficult for doctors to diagnose because it's internal, you can't see it, and therefore they probably thought that you were just thinking it, because that is in itself like a psychological thing where you think it and it could actually happen.
Yeah, and a lot of it's linked to anxiety, and a lot of the anxiety I was having was coming from the POTS.
How did you overcome these early struggles?
Really, as soon as I started reaching out and getting help and realizing that it wasn't all in my head, I started taking steps to think, okay, it's okay to accept help. It's okay to struggle with this. And I just kind of kept pressing through. I did swim team when I was in high school, and with that came a lot of mental strength activities and things like that, where you just had to keep pressing through things. And just saying I can do this, getting through things, is really kind of helped me overcome a lot of things, and not being afraid to reach out to people and say, hey, catch me.
And if you're reaching out to like a certified like doctor or something like that, like what kind of person would you reach out to? Because if you yourself don't necessarily know what all POTS entails, like how do you go about trying to find a solution?
Really, you just have to find a doctor that's educated. And with a lot of dysautonomia international things, they're trying to get doctors educated about POTS, because all it took was a couple of blood pressure readings and a tilt table test, and they found pretty quickly that POTS was where my problems were coming from. So yeah, finding the right doctor is really important.
Can you just give me a background on yourself, like what you do for hobbies or interests, or any clubs or organizations you're involved with?
I'm very my passion in life is musical theater. Unfortunately, because of kind of the way my illness was headed, I wasn't able to pursue that professionally, but I love music, I love art. I'm currently in biology and art as a major with the BPMI, or pre-BPMI at Iowa State. Hopefully I'll get my major soon. But in my free time, I really like to kind of sketch out graphic novel ideas, things like that. A lot of art, science.
Do you did you ever turn to art or something like that to kind of take your mind off of it early on, I suppose, like to find an outlet for it?
A lot of it, I turned to just writing terrible, terrible songs. And I'm currently working on kind of compiling a lot of it into a sort of graphic novel, kind of about dysautonomia, because I've noticed online and things, there's a lot of really sad things out there, but I think that it's really can be viewed in a persevering light, and I think a lot more, like just even the motivational pictures and art and like little cartoons, I think of getting a lot more of that perseverance and positivity out there is important. So I do sketch a bit of that, and I have a comedic POTS Twitter, so.
What do you use for motivation just to kind of get through the day? Like if one day is more difficult than the other, how do you push through that?
Honestly, humor. I think, like, I make a lot of terrible, terrible POTS jokes. My best friend was so supportive, helpful early into that. Like, it's kind of terrible. Like, if anybody else were to, like, make fun of me for passing out, she would go crazy. But kind of just being like, oh, there she goes again. It's kind of just accepting that this is kind of who I am, that this is going to be hard, but that it's okay and that you can get through it. So, like, a lot of Snapchats of falling over or oops, blackout POTS jokes. Like,
Yeah.
Just making bad puns is a really easy way to kind of just accept and get over it.
Right.
Because, like, you kind of just got to smile through the pain.
What are some goals that you have in life for later on?
Ever since I was a kid, I always saw myself backpacking. I wanted nothing more than to go and adventure and to travel. And growing up with a dad as a pilot, I was so excited to get to college, get out there and travel. But as I've found, that's really difficult when you might find yourself all of a sudden starting to black out in a lot of pain and you can't move your body anymore. And I've had that happen, especially traveling solo, and that's really scary. But I'm hoping that through working with things like biofeedback and getting my medication changed and just taking the time of sleep I need to help heal my nervous system, that eventually I'll be able to do things like Peace Corps, which has been a really big dream of mine.
What are some things that having POTS has limited you to doing, or what do you wish you could have done if you didn't have POTS, I suppose?
Because I have POTS, my immune system is weakened, and like now it enables me to get things like strep or just the common cold or even mono really easily. So I really wish that I could have pursued singing. I finally made it to nationals my senior year of high school, and I was really excited to maybe turn that page, but even while I was at nationals, I contracted scarlet fever, which is something I'm actually currently battling.
Yeah.
But it kind of was just a sign that maybe performing wasn't for me, and that it was just a little too physically demanding at that time. And that was a hard door for me to close, but it's not one that's completely shut.
How did your parents, I suppose, react at first when they figured out? Like, I know that you said that you were almost like happy that you were diagnosed with something because you finally knew that like what was wrong, but like how did they react up until that point or even at that point?
It was kind of, it's hard when your kid is saying, I assume, that like things are wrong with them, and you take them to the doctor and the doctor says they're fine. And for a long time, after I had been told that I was fine, I just didn't talk to my parents about it. It wasn't something I felt comfortable talking to my parents about, and I really kind of just shut myself up from everyone. Once I got diagnosed, it was kind of a relief that they could help, or they could do something to help. My dad has been so helpful in helping me with the paperwork, helping me get to the doctor, helping me get the treatments that I needed. And it's been really nice to be able to lean on them.
Though there isn't necessarily a cure, at least not yet, what do you see for the future? And I guess more people are being diagnosed with it like every year. Like I learned earlier today, I guess we could have up to 3 million people in the United States or something like that having POTS. But
Yeah.
what do you see kind of like for the future of the disorder, I guess?
Like in what I've read about it, it seems like with a lot of cases of mono, people are getting chronic fatigue and POTS symptoms from that because mono attacks the nervous system sometimes and cardiovascular system. But for the future outlook, I know a lot of people can recover given enough time and tools like biofeedback to help control heart rate. It really depends on what's causing the POTS. Because POTS can be caused by things like bad like artery in the head. So when you're breathing too much, you start to pass out. Or it can be caused by so much anxiety that your body resets itself. Or it can be caused by failure of your entire autonomic nervous system. It can be a side effect of so many different things. POTS per se, I'm not sure, but I'm hoping that as we figure out more and more what routes are more effective with medication, like moving from Midodrine to beta blockers, like just getting the correct medication to the patients who need it as we do more and more research will be really cool.
From what you know, is it possible to be born with POTS, or does that just kind of happen some point in your life?
I think you probably can be born with POTS because again, POTS is a collection of symptoms. But I know it mostly occurs in females around the ages of like 14 to like 20, or somewhere within that age group. I might be off, but
How can it be determined that it's not some other autoimmune disease or something that's like, is that part of the problem why they can't detect it?
it like POTS, since it's a collection of symptoms, it can be caused by other things, and really that's why you just have to go to amazing places like the Mayo Clinic's POTS clinic, and get the heck tested out of you.
So they have their own clinic for it now?
Yeah, at Mayo Clinic, they've opened up like a program, I don't know the correct term for it, I went there, for POTS, where they study POTS and also hold like a lot of group therapy, cool things to help POTS patients. And especially they have like a POTS rehabilitation program.
I guess if you would like to recall, what would be like the most scariest moment that you've had with POTS?
I've had a lot of scary moments, but a recent scary moment was when it's always when people who I don't know very well, because I'm always afraid to call 911 and then they'll start freaking out, not knowing.
Yeah, not knowing
But,
what to do.
I traveled all the way to North Carolina to go to a concert, and so I'm with my friend who, like, we like kind of know each other, parents, friends. We both wanted to go to this concert, so we're driving together. All of a sudden, I start shaking, breaking out in hives, and I lose vision, and I just say, "Hey, can we please get to the bathroom?" Like, I don't call 911. This will probably be over in 3 hours, and I remember that she was like picking me up.
So it's kind of a thing that it just takes duration and then it kind of goes away
Yeah,
for the most part.
you really just gotta wait it out.
And I suppose, do you consider this almost like a blessing in life? Because some people that have disabilities or disorders, they see the smaller things in life, like they take things for granted more than other people don't. What's your view on that?
Um, I don't really like think of POTS as like a blessing, but I do think that it's a big part of what's made me who I am. I think of myself as pretty unbreakable, and I know that in dealing with POTS and knowing what POTS is, like, it's enabled me to help other people and also be a positive light for people. Because when things are a little bit harder every day, it makes you a little bit stronger. So when you do have the good days, you don't take them for granted. Just last week, I was diagnosed with mono, which isn't a huge thing for a lot of people, but for me, that's pretty scary. And that's going to probably set back a lot of my progress. But for the few months that I had over the summer where I didn't have to wear compression tights, where I could go outside and not feel dizzy, when I was feeling good, I never took a day of that for granted. And I'm just happy that I know what it feels like to feel good, but I know what it's like to feel pretty bad. So every day is a good day.